This week was the start of Ramadan or Ramazan. Central Asia in particular doesn't seem to celebrate Ramadan with such strictness as other places. Maybe that's to do with the fact it was under Soviet rule for many decades and the Soviet Union was an atheist state. It's the same in neighbouring Kazakhstan as well. Technically speaking, they're Muslim, but very relaxed about it, and they're like here, you wouldn't even know it's Ramadan really. In the other three countries of Central Asia, Turkmenistan, Tajikistan and Uzbekistan, I think it is more strictly observed there. But still, not as strictly as in other parts of the Islamic world. Of course, not all Muslims are practicing. I have noticed here that Islam seems to be followed more in the smaller towns and villages than in the bigger cities. I guess Islam can be followed more easily in the villages and the very small towns where people can pray 5 times a day. Maybe they've got more time. I guess this is an issue for many people all over the world, trying to maintain their ancient customs and traditions and religions in this ever-changing modern world. So, time for lunch in my favourite canteen chain, and many people having lunch in there will be Muslims, but I guess just not practicing Muslims. A lot of travel publications often recommend that travellers or Western travellers don't visit Islamic countries during Ramadan. With regards to liberal Islamic countries like Kyrgyzstan, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't. Life here carries on completely as normal. Before now, I've also coincidentally been in other Islamic countries during Ramadan, stricter ones, and there hasn't been a problem either. The hotels that are used to having guests from other parts of the world, many of whom may not be Muslim, they still offer lunch in their cafes. It can also be a fascinating experience visiting an Islamic country during Ramadan. I remember when I was in Bangladesh, it was strictly observed, the fasting, and then every evening at sundown everybody would come into the streets and have a big feast in the streets. Everybody would be offering me food. I'd be being offered a bunch of grapes and other things, which was humbling because a lot of the people offering me grapes were very poor people that didn't have food to spare. Sure, it's sometimes a little bit difficult knowing what to do because you don't want to take food from a poor person who needs it more than you do, but at the same time you don't want to refuse somebody's kindness. All things considered, I don't see any reason why a non-Muslim shouldn't visit an Islamic country during Ramadan. On the contrary, I completely dispel that myth. I think you get a very interesting and rewarding experience.